Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
What you come out going shopping when you owe somebody money, Johnny? That ain't right. How much you got there?
Charlie, I'm gonna pay him next week. I'm gonna pay you.
The hell are you? Well, I'm this here private investigator who was sent here this afternoon to find you, but the good doctor here dummied up.
It's too far.
My lord, did you just say a serious musician?
I don't think so.
He called you a cowboy. What did he mean? What are you?
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. My name's Cris. I am the host here at the Hertastic Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the last episode we had. I was really happy the way it turned out. Hopefully, we have some more content for you today. For the quarantine, we're still suffering through. But you know what? Lately, I've been really thinking about something that I think you all would like. Do you remember movie theaters? I know it sounds crazy, but it was this thing where there was a big screen and you used to be able to pay for a ticket to see new movies and sometimes really cool old movies as well. So I was starting to think, I feel a little nostalgic and I want to think about some of my favorite memories at a movie theater. So who did I think I could bring onto the show that could really help with this? It was none other than I'm really happy to have her on. It's the host and head of the Alamo in Springfield, Missouri, the Alamo Film Club, Jennifer John Meyer. She runs I'll just introduce her because she knows more about her job than me, but she's awesome. So here is Jennifer. Jennifer, say hi.
Hey, I don't know if I can live up to that intro, but I'll do my best. So I'm the creative manager at Alamo. So what that means is I'm in charge of all the public events, movie parties, signature programming, like the older movies that we show, and just how to make things interesting so that when people show up, they have the best possible time.
Yeah, she also has to deal with crazy people like me on a Facebook page where we have to run polls and discussions that get heated, silly, and they're often very fun. So she, give her credit for that. If you're an admin for any kind of page on Facebook, you probably have some stories for Jennifer. But since Jen always hosts these film club showings, I thought it'd be a great idea if I could have her on here so we could share our top 5 movie theater experiences. Like movies from yesteryear or certain times in your life that really connected with you that you really wish you could go to a theater and see it right now. And Jen was really nice enough to come on and share some of those. I'm pretty excited. Jennifer, since you are the host of this show, or you're not the host of the show, you were the host of this club, excuse me. Could you give me a few of sneak peeks of your theater going experiences growing up?
Okay, well, I've been going to the movies for most of my life. The reason is my dad bought our town's movie theater and renovated it when I was 7. And so he still owns the theater in my hometown. And so I grew up just kind of doing unglamorous stuff, mostly cleaning, a lot of cleaning, bathrooms and theaters. Made me really hate like the Rocky Horror Picture Show because that was the worst. But what it's also done is given me a lot of experiences that were very hard to choose from. I've gotten to see and do a lot of things behind the scenes, and it's only made me love movies more. I've never been burnt out on seeing movies in a movie theater, and I think every year I just love the whole experience more, and I really miss it right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? To fill that little void, why don't you share your first movie theater experience with us that you like of your top 5? What's your first? It doesn't have to be in any order, but just what comes to mind first.
The first one that I based everything on was the first movie after my dad opened the movie theater up to the public. We had 2 screens, it was this little theater, and he had renovated the existing one, so it was a tiny space. And he showed Mr. Mom.
Next.
May I have a half a pound of ham?
Boiled, baked, smoked, salt-cured, sugar-cured, prosciutto, or Westphalian.
All right, forget it. Just tell you what, just give me a half pound of salami.
Italian, kosher, hard pork, beef, cotto, or what?
Just get bologna, mister.
I'll tell you what, just give me a quarter pound of cheese.
American blue, cream, cottage, Gouda, Edam, provolone, Romano, Swiss. You have your entire cheddar family.
Can you run the hams back one more time? I just want
And that was, he was still working on the second screen, but it's Michael Keaton, 1983. So my favorite movie experience ever was getting to see like the fruits of all of his labor, like all of the work he'd put in, because he had a full-time job too. He's a CPA, and he was still like just doing all this stuff in his spare time, and to see how excited people were to have a movie theater in our town again, and then to see that movie, which is just comic genius. I mean, to this day, I don't. It's definitely one of my favorite movies, but I loved it. I remember it pretty well. I was very young. I was like 7, maybe 8. But I still remember like just how excited people were and how it seemed like they were just so ready to have a good time. There were just a lot of laughs, a lot of chatter in the lobby, and then the movie. It was the first time I really thought of watching a movie as a total shared experience.
Oh, that is so cool. I haven't seen Mr. Mom in a theater, but Michael Keaton in there is hilarious.
He is.
There's a really great Blu-ray edition of Mr. Mom that every time I walk past it at like a store, it's available. I'm like, oh, I need to pick it up. Yeah. And I just never do, but I just need to change that. Maybe this might motivate me to finally just shell that money out for it, part of that stimulus package.
That's right. All that money. God.
There you go. That's so great. I never would have thought that Mr. Mom would be on this podcast, but I'm so happy it is, because people need to watch that movie.
Yeah, I try. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Because I could easily do a top 10 or top 20, but I was like, these are definitely not my top 5 movies. Yeah. But as far as stuff that has stuck with me.
Yeah, and usually those movies, like when you go to see a movie, you always try to like, recapture that memory, know? I mean, so for my first movie theater experience I'm going to share, it was with my dad. I'm from Northern Illinois. I'm sure most people know, but I used to go to this really cheap theater. It was like the discount movie theater after it left AMC or whatever it was at the time. And I was grounded at the time. My dad knocked on my door. He poked in. He said, "Hey, do you want to go see a movie?" And I was like, heck yeah. So like prior to, we saw like Revenge of the Sith, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But he was like, "Do you want to go see King Kong?"
The whole world will pay to see this. We're millionaires, boys. I'll share it with all of you. In a few months, his name will be up in lights on Broadway. Kong, the 8th wonder of the world.
And growing up as a kid, I was a huge Godzilla fan. I mean, even 98 Godzilla, when I was too young to know if it was good or bad.
Right.
And seeing like the old Japanese ones, I used to watch because I thought the dubs were funny, and seeing Godzilla was fun. So I went with my dad to this cheap theater, and it was the winter time. I had my winter coat on. It was a packed theater because it was super cheap, and it was Peter Jackson's film after The Lord of the Rings. Man, I must have been seasoned when I went to see it, because I didn't fall asleep or anything. It was an over 3-hour long showing, obviously, per Peter Jackson.
Yes.
And it was so hot in that theater, but with my dad next to me, we were just watching it, and seeing King Kong on screen was just like the best thing ever. My love for like movie monsters like had never been better seen in screens for me, and oh my god, I just loved it so much. I cried at the end of it, seeing Kong die. Spoilers if you've never seen it before.
Yeah, you had time. Trust me, you had time to watch it. So.
And it was a movie I watched so much as a kid. After that theater experience, I just I hugged my dad. I was like, "I love you, Dad. This is the best thing ever." It had Jack Black in it, and I watched School of Rock growing up.
Yes.
And the first time I was introduced to Adrian Brody, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I loved his performance in that.
Yeah, I did too. I like Adrian Brody.
Yeah, so I mean that was like the epitome of like I love movies and I want to keep going to movie theaters when I get older. It was because of that King Kong movie, and my dad got it for me for Christmas. We did that Christmas or the next Christmas after. I just remember that I got that DVD. If you remember DVDs,
Right.
for the streaming
I remember
people.
tapes. Yeah. Oh, that's a really good one too. But yeah, that's a perfect example. Like it's about more than just the movie. It's that whole memory of that whole shared experience. Mm-hmm. And like The Jerk with Steve Martin is my favorite movie, and I've watched it more than any other movie. And of course, it was the first thing I programmed, like my top 5 favorite movies when I came to Alamo. But I think 3 of my top 5 were kid movies when I was a kid, because it forms that foundation, and then it's really hard to beat the nostalgia factor.
Yeah, you can't sleep on nostalgia. It's a real force. It really is.
It is.
Yeah, I sometimes when I make lists, even if they're just like not going to be shared, I still kind of think of the movie and I'm like, oh, I should put this movie in front of it from like my childhood because I feel bad and I want that movie to think I don't love it enough, even though it's inanimate,
I know. I felt really bad that I didn't put The Jerk on here, but I was like, it's as amazing as that was. Mm-hmm. There are these other 4 that just, they really stick with me. So.
Well, you know what? Stop holding me in suspense. Give me your second one.
Okay, so my second one was the first time I got to see a midnight showing. Oh. I was Dick Tracy was the movie.
Let's go. Big Boy Cris, Breathless Mahoney, Flat Top, the DA, Prune Face, Mumbles, Lips Manless, and the Blank are out to get the greatest detective of all time.
I'm rubbing him out.
I want him dead. Nobody touches Tracy but me.
Tracy.
Tracy?
You mind if I call you Dick?
And this was like back when the comic book to big screen transition was very fresh. Like Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman had come out the year before. And there really hadn't been a lot of like impactful, like Marvel universes now, or even like what Batman became.
Oh, absolutely.
So Dick Tracy was super fresh. And I was always Marvel over DC, but I was also like, I will see it if it was a comic book, from forever. So I went to that. I got to go see it with a friend, my friend Nicole. And, I didn't have to sit with my dad or anything. And so I felt like basically a grown-up. Like I could go ahead and get a mortgage and just start my life because I had made it. And just seeing, like I said, it was the very beginning of that whole movement. And so, but just seeing everything, like the colors seemed brighter. The characters it was like a perfect blend of like animation to live action to me. And I haven't seen that movie in probably since I was a kid. So it might totally suck now, but that whole feeling of being in a theater with mostly adults, but I was a kid. It was awesome.
Oh, you know what's crazy? I haven't seen Dick Tracy, but I know it by name. Mm-hmm. And I have a friend, Daniel, he hosts a podcast too, where he talks about like gothic movies, but he recently watched that and he had a really great time with it. It was part of like this film marathon he was doing or whatever. But Warren Beatty's in that, correct?
Yes, yeah, he's Dick Tracy.
Yeah, and Al Pacino's in that, yes. I know too. Which was his birthday like yesterday.
Oh, I missed it. I love him.
Yeah, it was weird. It was his birthday and it was also Alien Day too. It was like a crazy day.
Yeah. What a
Or wait, no, today's Monday. So no, it was actually 2 days ago, but Alien Day was yesterday. But still, that sequence of events is insane.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
But wow, Dick Tracy, that's awesome. When I think about like my early like comic book movies in theaters, usually it's like DC movies. Isn't that weird? Like I would think Marvel, but it's usually DC. Something about young boys and Batman, I feel like.
It was it was such a dark universe, Superman, the Christopher Reeve Supermans were all coming out when I was young, and so that was the first one that I ever saw, because that was well before Batman.
Yep.
And I just thought it was amazing. Like, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing on the screen. Like, at the time, I just, it just all looked so real.
Right.
And
it is great. You see what it was in my house. My dad was a huge Batman guy, but my mom was a huge Christopher Reeves guy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I didn't get to watch Batman first. I was my mom grabbed me and we watched all 4 of the Christopher Reeves Superman movies, and because I was so influenced at a young age, Superman's my favorite comic book hero because my mom, and I'm a mama's boy, obviously. So I always have to defend the Superman movies before the Keaton Batman movies. But when I saw the Keaton Batman movies, I was like, Dad, these things are sweet. But that's interesting you brought up the Christopher Reeves, because they are so sweet and they're so fun and they're great.
I know.
Gone too soon, Christopher Reeves.
I know. Yeah, that was devastating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad, I had Superman with my dad, and then he was in Somewhere in Time, this movie about time travel, this romantic time travel movie. So my mom loved it. So, it was definitely not a house divided situation. There was love to go around for Christopher Reeve in my house. But yeah, I loved all the facets of his acting, and I thought he was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad that I have someone else who loves Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, I was gonna say, for my next movie, since we're talking about kind of like tenderness and stuff like that, because that's what Christopher Reeves was, at least to me, when I watch him on screen. The next movie that was like one of my favorite experiences, it was actually at the Alamo. And it was a recent film. It was Lulu Wang's The Farewell.
What's wrong, Dad? Please tell me. Midnight is dying.
She doesn't know, so you can't say anything. The family thinks it's better not to tell her.
Why is that better? Chinese people have a saying, when people get cancer, they die. We have to go to China.
Wedding is an excuse so everyone can see her.
He's my only cousin. Did you think I should be there? You can't hide your emotions. If you go, then we'll find out right away.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I didn't see it opening day like I had planned, but when I saw that trailer, I was like, oh my God, I have to see this movie when it comes out. And I went with my friends. There's 4 of us. So 4 men going to go see The Farewell.
That's beautiful. I love it.
It was great. And when watching it, I already knew when I met Nai, I was like, oh my God, I will not be able to keep it together. But man, the movie was beautifully made. Lulu Wang did a phenomenal job. I loved Awkwafina. All the supporting family actors were fantastic. And, I smiled so much when Nai was showing Awkwafina how to punch.
Yes.
I had such a huge smile on my face. And then I lost it when she hugged Nai and drove off with her family.
Oh God,
and she was doing the punching, and then after she's in New York doing the punching, absolutely cried. Like I was like ugly crying, Jen. It was like there was these older women next to me, and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And my roommate Seth, he gave me a hug. He's like, "This boy's crying. It's okay," because we like to cry in theaters.
Yeah, same. I watched it by myself, and same thing.
I could not imagine seeing that by myself. I would have been like hugging a stranger. I was like, it was ugly. But that movie was so great. It reminded me of my family. But definitely one of my all-time favorite movie experiences. And it was at the Alamo. So I have to shout you out for bringing that one there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was so worried. I always worry about any movie that's not too mainstream. Same with Parasite. Those movies don't play as well here, and it's sad, but I still want to be able to have them, but sometimes it just depends on how many prints are available or whatever, like how many screens they open with, and we get left out, and it's a real bummer. But I was thrilled that we got that. It was actually one of our Drafthouse Recommends titles, and justly so. It was amazing.
Well, you're doing phenomenal work there. When I see there's a showing for a movie other than the Moxie, I'm like, man, Jennifer is kicking ass over there.
I try to always make sure that people understand that we really do take requests. Like, it's a whole thing. It's not just, we have to still come up with movies all the time. And so I really depend on, the film club has been invaluable to me for that reason.
For people who aren't in the area, though, I'm sure Jen, she knows more about this more than me, but I just know because I think it's great. She helps curate these things that, if you've never been to an Alamo, they're movie parties that are themed. She does showings, like, Video Vortex, which I think is insane. I've yet to go to one, but when the quarantine ends, I really, really want to go because it sounds insane. So I hope you can talk about that a little bit. Yeah. And just like the exclusive screens for like film club members and the discussions after, those are always very fun too.
I like it when we disagree, because it teaches me way more than if we all sit there and say, yeah, that was great, really good movie. Right. So when people have very heated discussions and then have like valid points to back up why they feel that way, it's a big eye opener.
Mm-hmm. I didn't have an Alamo like growing up or where I was raised and lived. So like when I moved to Springfield and I went to it, I was like, why would you go to a theater to do like a movie party, Yeah. And one of my friends told me about it and I was like, this sounds insane. Like, this is nuts. So I went to one and it was so much fun. It was the Smokey and the Bandit Burt Reynolds tribute.
Oh yeah.
And you got the little mustache and stuff. Oh, that was so great. It was fun. I was like, oh my gosh, like, why aren't these everywhere?
Yeah, I loved that. I hosted that one, and I had not watched Smokey and the Bandit since I was young, and so I was like, God, I don't feel worthy to even host this, to even. Right. And then I was, we were trying to come up with something because it wasn't an official movie party. So I'm like, what can we do? That makes it a little special. And we had those mustache straws, I think, is what we did too. And yeah, it was. And then we had the beer special, but it was a sad time.
It was, but you know what? I had never seen Smokey until I went to the Alamo to see that. So I was like, oh man, of all places to go see it, this was the best place to go see it.
I always love hearing about people who are seeing older movies for the first time on the big screen, because that's how it should be. Like a lot of these we bring because it feels like the small screen just doesn't do them the justice they deserve. And then too, like if you're in there with a bunch of people who already also love the movie, like it just feels like you're watching it with all your friends.
Right, exactly. So Jen, what's your next movie theater experience? I think you're 2 for 2 so far, so.
So I really struggled with this one, but I've thought about it so many times since it happened that I can't not use it. It was the same summer as Dick Tracy, so 1990. So I was 14 again, and the movie was Arachnophobia.
From Hollywood Pictures and Amblin Entertainment, when Dr. Ross Jennings and his family decide to move to the country.
Oh, Ross, smell that air.
They thought they'd found the perfect little town.
How are you finding life here?
But instead,
it's all rotten down there.
I'll call the exterminator.
They're getting more.
Would anybody object if I tore this floor out?
I would.
False alarm, then lead on.
Than anyone's bargained for.
I think we got a big problem here in Canada.
Now, experts are moving in.
Rock and roll!
And neighbors are moving out.
There may be some spiders around here that are very dangerous.
This is way out of my league. He believes he came across one of the offending spiders a couple hours ago.
Actually, it's probably still in the bottom of my shoe.
It's a roller coaster ride you'll never forget. Arachnophobia, the most fun you'll have being scared.
Hello.
Okay, so the reason why it was an experience is because it was the first time I saw, or took part in like a tech check after hours movie. So it was just me, my dad, my brother, and then I got to have my friend Nicole, who I saw Dick Tracy with. And so it was just the four of us, and we tech checked it after close. So it was like the middle of the night. And then my brother had brought in like a big fake spider, you know, and he went, like he left to go to the bathroom and threw it on us. And it was just that freedom, the first time feeling that like nobody's here, you know, like we're eating the leftover popcorn, you know, for free or whatever. And then the movie is pretty, you know, it's pretty scary. So I was a kid, and so I wasn't scared of spiders, but it definitely would have been if this had been my life. So there was just something about that. And I knew that, I think that was the night I knew that I wanted to just do this. Like, I wanted to be a part of the behind the scenes for my whole life. Later, like when I was in grad school and I was managing the theater, I thought I'd never work in a movie theater again after that, because like being a GM is a problem. But yeah, I just loved it too much to stay away. So that was very memorable.
Oh, geez, arachnophobia. You know, I've heard so many people talk about the movie, and I haven't seen it because I don't like spiders or bugs and stuff. But I do like scary movies, so it's probably gonna be bumped up to the top of my list of like need to see movies. You know, to challenge myself. Wow, that's so cool. I'm actually really jealous that, you know, at 14 you got to be in a movie theater at night and like, you know, do that stuff. Because when I was 14, like going to go see movies, I had to have my parents like drive me, drop me off, you know, text my friends to see when they're there. And then I never got to pick the movie. They were usually the ones that got to choose them, and they were usually comedy movies I didn't want to see.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but I did know somebody at the movie theater, so he would usually give me a discount ticket, so it wasn't super
That's
bad.
Cool. That part's cool. Yeah, like arachnophobia, not even anywhere on any of my favorite lists ever. But yeah, there was just something about that feeling like you were really doing something cool that just stuck with me.
There's just like movies like you see at certain times of the day that just hit a little differently, you know?
Yeah. Yep, I think so too, because I've seen some really terrible movies, you know, like after hours tech checks or just making sure, you know, that everything's okay with the projector or whatever, that it is scary. That you know, you'd watch it any other time and you're like, this is ridiculous. This is so bad. But, you know, every little noise you hear around you, you're like, what was that? Did I lock the door? Is somebody coming in? You know, that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, Jen, since you gave me a horror movie, I'll match you a horror movie.
Yeah.
So this is my number 3 favorite movie theater experience. It's another recent movie. I didn't think I'd have so many recent showings, but it is Halloween from 2018.
He's waited for this night. He's waited for me. I've waited for him.
Get out! Go home! Get inside!
You don't believe in the boogeyman?
He's here! Michael!
Oh, yeah.
The remake sequel. I saw that opening night at the Alamo, pre-ordered the Halloween Mondo glass because it's super cool.
Yeah, it is.
And I saw opening night in the crowd, probably one of the best like movie theater crowds I've ever been a part of. You know, great chemistry, good reactions. The movie was perfect. I was super hyped for the movie. And it delivered everything I wanted and then some. But the biggest thing that like hit me the most was where I was sitting was like my favorite spot in like the theater. And when you hear in the Halloween 2018, you hear the theme song playing after the opening sequence, and you see the whole opening title credits like you did when you watched the original Halloween and the sequels after. I really felt like I was seeing a new, I never thought I'd see a new Halloween movie that saw John Carpenter title cards in the opening. And to me, that was like a bucket list thing. I was like, I'm never going to forget this. I'm going to be able to tell my friends and whoever later in life, I got to see a John Carpenter movie in theaters new, you know, that wasn't a repertoire screening. It was like one of those just pure geeky franchise things for me, you know?
Oh, yeah, for a lot of people. And we had a Michael Myers cosplayer that I had before that like on opening night, and then I had him. We showed the original one too that month, and so I had him for both of those, and it was just the weirdest, because I can mostly see a movie for free, but if it's a new movie that's going to do well, if I want to see it, I got to pay full price for a ticket, like anybody else, or wait 2 weeks. So I paid, I don't even care. There was no way I didn't want to see that with a bunch of other people who had that love of the history like I did. And I did have like the goosebumps. I got a little teary, because it's just when you get that overwhelmed with excitement, like it has to come out somewhere. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. This is actually happening. And then it delivered too.
Oh yeah.
Because with all of that, when you have, especially with that long between, when you have that kind of weight and you build it up in your mind, it's almost impossible for it to deliver of the scale that you have in your head. And that was one of the few cases where I felt like it absolutely did.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I remember leaving the theaters jumping up and down. I felt like a kid who saw Halloween for the first time.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh. It's like, I don't know how to react to this other than take my glass and go home and drink and celebrations.
Yeah.
Like, we did it. They did it.
I know. It's so good. That's a great choice. Yeah.
It's just amazing. So, and who would have thought that was at the Alamo too? I didn't pick these because they were just at the Alamo. It just so happens that a lot of my favorites have been at the Alamo. It's just something you guys do there that's just amazing.
Well, the rest of mine are Alamo. So
some home team love. I
yeah,
can't blame you there.
Yeah.
Do you have one for me? What's your next one?
I do. Okay, so the next one, we're on number 4, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier that I hated or resented Rocky Horror Picture Show. And as a matter of fact, I vowed never to see it for that reason, because of how angry it was, because people would throw food. They would throw food in there, and I hadn't seen the movie, so I couldn't, but I didn't understand why they had to always throw food, especially like tomatoes and stuff that you really had to like scrub out. And so I was like, nope, it's not for me. And so when I got hired for Alamo, they sent me to Austin, Texas, where where it all started. They sent me there for 3 weeks, and it was a lot of information, but part of the training was that I got to see different types of movies. So they sent me to movie parties, Weird Wednesday. I love Weird Wednesday. That's something I'm going to definitely bring. I was planning on bringing it next year. And then what else? A video dance party. But the first movie party they sent me to was Rocky Horror. And it was on Halloween night. And it was on 6th Street at the Ritz. That's like their old-timey, like older house. And 6th Street is like the party street of Austin. So, and there's like nowhere to park, so so I had to walk all of 6th Street on Halloween, which was amazing. Like all of the people dressed up, and like almost the whole street is bars, all doing very well. And so I get in there, and it was amazing. It was it was not only my first movie party ever, but it was Rocky Horror on Halloween night with all these people and there were still a lot of like Rocky Horror virgins, so they had them all come up to the front. Of course, I did not raise my hand because I was like, I don't want to go up there. I don't know what's going to happen. And it was so neat. And there was a guy sitting next to me who knew the whole movie and quoted almost the whole damn movie. And he was super weird. He was wearing this long trench coat, and he was by himself. And yet it was still like the most amazing experience, like just using all the props. And then I confirmed that there was no reason to throw food. I was right all along. But, there were water guns and newspapers. And I mean, like it all came into play, playing cards. And everybody had the best time, and everybody was singing and propping it up. And then, I got out on this big, and the party was still raging on 6th Street when I got out. And Halloween's my favorite holiday anyway. So
yes.
It was just, it was definitely an amazing night.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
It's fabulously freaky. It's a trip to transsexual Transylvania. The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Transsexual Transylvania.
The story is strange.
You know, that's so great. Like, I can't even think of like what's gonna be in my life something that's gonna reach that kind of level, because I haven't seen Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I've been told so many times by so many people to like see the live performance of it.
Oh yeah.
And then watch the movie. So like I know what comes with seeing it, and it's something like I feel like I need to work myself with to like get hyped for and like go with the right people to really get that experience. So I think it's something, I think at my time, I think I'm coming up to where I'm going to be so enthralled to do something like go and see that movie with a bunch of people who are so passionate about it. But that's so cool that you got to see it like that and see like the reactions after. Like, I think maybe the closest thing I have to maybe that is seeing like Infinity War or Endgame, like after like the theater reactions, like when people are just so going crazy about it. Man, that is insane. I didn't know you. I didn't know. That's so cool. It's just I'm just nerding out. That is really, really cool.
Yeah,
I have a lot of friends who probably are jealous of you right now because of that.
What sucked is I mean, honestly, I prefer seeing movies by myself because I'm the person that's always worried about how the person she's with is like, how they're feeling, how they're reacting, if they're having a good time. When I see a movie by myself, I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just focus completely on the movie. But that was one time that was the one thing I didn't like. I would have loved to be there with somebody I knew instead of it. You know, it was a little scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see a guy in a trench coat, you don't see that.
Yeah.
Very often, but when you do, it is something to like, oh no.
And he was so intense. Like he was
geez.
super intense. But that did add to it a little bit, you know, because it was like I had no idea what was going to happen from minute to minute. Plus I had this guy next to me in this trench coat. And then all the kind of crazy people that would go to 6th Street on Halloween night and see like an 11 p.m. showing of Rocky Horror. So I felt like the most mainstream basic person in there by far.
It is like a cool mainstream. It's like one of those cult mainstream things, you know, for like an oxymoron type thing. That's so great. I know whoever's listening right now, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's freaking amazing that somebody got to do that. That's so cool. Like really, that is. I every time I see that Blu-ray, I'm like, is this the time I need to buy it? But I keep kind of like holding out to like, no, I got to see it like in a theater at a certain, you know.
We do it with a shadow cast every year, you know, so they're acting it out with the movie. So that's kind of cool.
Well, you know what? I have to check that out on my calendar, you know. Maybe 2020 goals. 2020 hasn't started off hot. Maybe I need to make it hot.
It's going to be backloaded.
Right. Well, man, you know, I don't have anything that can match that, but I do have one that's kind of like controversial, I guess, since I guess Rocky Horror is controversial to some people, probably the not fun people, but so when I was in college, I went to school in Fulton, Missouri, which is a small part of Missouri. Yeah, and there's a small theater there. It's a B&B. And I went with my roommate, Daniel, and another friend of ours named Isaac, and we went to the opening night of The Last Jedi, which is my next experience.
Yeah.
And I failed you, Ben. I'm sorry. I'm sure you are. The Resistance is dead. The war is over. And when I kill you, I will have killed the last Jedi.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Talk about controversial already. Half the listeners right now are either going to stop listening or they're going to want to keep listening more. But when I saw Last Jedi, I was like, every time a new Star Wars movie comes out, it's like a big deal for me. Like when I remember as a kid realizing, it's just how big of an idiot I was as a kid. In elementary school, I used to think there's this movie, this movie, this movie. And I'm like, but we don't have an episode 3. So how is there a 4? You know, like, I could never put it together. And then lo and behold, the Revenge of the Sith came out. I was an idiot. I never thought of that when I was a kid until I counted them on my fingers.
I don't know anybody who did. Like, you know, to me, like, I didn't even pay attention to episode 4. It was just like the first Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, when these newer Star Wars movies came out, I mean, shoot. I mean, I'm sure you remember when Force Awakens came out. It was the whole town was doing cartwheels and such.
Mm-hmm.
But for Last Jedi, I was especially excited because of the ending of the first episode 7. And because I worked at GameStop at the time, so I got a sneak peek into the merchandise that was coming out for the new movie. So I saw porgs were a thing, and I was like all about porgs. And like I bought little stuffed animals of them. I had bumper stickers. I was like, oh, porgs are gonna be amazing. These things look so cool for this movie. And when we went to go see Last Jedi, I can't remember a big blockbuster like that left me so not confused and like I don't understand, but more like I don't know how I feel. My heart is torn, and it wasn't even that I didn't like the movie. I had my reaction was so like, oh my god, I've never experienced something like this in my life. I don't know how to react to it. And my roommate and my friend, we were talking from the 2-minute drive it was to the theater back to the fraternity house, and then for another 2 hours. And then eventually we're like, you know what? We need to go to bed. We need to go to bed. We need to watch it again.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those theater experiences where it's like, you know those movies that you talk about after you see it and you know you have to go see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Not even because if you don't know if you don't like it or not, but it's just like you want to see it again.
Yeah.
I've never done that with a movie, and I knew I liked it, and there was some new things in there I didn't know how to feel because I didn't hate it. Like some people hate Last Jedi for whatever reason. But I also was like, I don't know if I can say I love it yet, but when I saw it again, I was like sold. I love this movie. It's so great. It's amazing. I ended up seeing it 4 times in theaters in Columbia. And oh my gosh, I couldn't remember a movie that was like visually stunning. It was so different for its time. And I was so naive in terms of social media of like what people thought of the movie. So when I was like, I really like The Last Jedi, and I would go on like Twitter and some people would be like, oh, F you don't know what movies are. And I'm like, what? Like, I've never seen like a fan base so divided. It was just like I knew this was something special, you know. And when you talk about movies, obviously Star Wars has to be in the conversation, right?
Yep. I grew up in a Star Wars family, and you know we had all of the action figures, the Millennium Falcon. You know, my brother was a huge collector, so we played with it all the time. You know, and then we watched it all the time. And to me, I don't get it because even a bad Star Wars movie is still an amazing movie. And I felt really guilty not including this, you know, any Star Wars in my top 5, but I was like, I loved them all. Yeah. I can't pick, you know, it's like picking your favorite kid or pet or, you know, it's too hard. Yeah. Like, they're all amazing in their own way. And so I definitely understand the confusion over the divisiveness. I can't really talk to. I can understand if there's a part you didn't like as much or whatever, you know, like, or you didn't see it going that way, or you thought this character needed more development, or what. I mean, but come on, it's still
action. Get a Star Wars movie.
Just action, and just the visual effects are stunning. The costume design, like just.
That throne room scene with Kylo and Rey, my jaws were dropping. I was like, holy crap, I never thought Star Wars could look like this. And I was like, thank you, Rian Johnson. Like, thank you.
I don't get the Rian Johnson hate. I really don't. And people were, I don't think there was anybody that was like, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, everybody was either like, this was amazing or this sucked.
Right.
And they all wanted to talk about it. So.
It's just like, I was like, oh my gosh. I think it's easier when you say like it's hard to choose Star Wars. I totally get that. I'm unfortunately in the group that's I haven't seen the original trilogy in theaters yet. It's one of my bucket list things. I haven't seen them. I've obviously seen it plenty of times, but I haven't seen it in a theater. And I remember when like episodes 1 and 2 and 3 were coming out, and they had like the 3D versions re-released. So I missed out on that too. So seeing Star Wars in a repertoire is really hard for me now that I think about it. I haven't seen them like that. So
yeah, and they're all Disney now, so it's really hard to even get them on the big screen. Any of the older ones.
That is part of the current news topics in terms of distribution. So yeah, it's kind of interesting you brought that up.
Yep, it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me.
Right.
I get real mad sometimes about the restrictions.
Yeah. Oh, I get mad when I think of Disney and what it was and what it is.
Yep.
It's but that's for another time. If anybody knows me, they know my opinion on Disney. I'm not even getting into it.
Yeah, it's a lot. I have a lot of feelings.
Well, you know what? Take that and like channel it to like your last experience. I'm really excited because yours has like been flawless, and like these are like experiences I'm super jealous of, and I hope to have some sort of stories with them like yours at the end of my life.
So 5 was obviously the hardest to come up with. So I had and rejected a bunch of possibilities, but once I thought of this, I couldn't unthink it. So the 5th and final experience was the first movie I saw at Alamo Springfield as an employee. So, and the reason why it was so amazing was because my dad came to visit, and he had never been to an Alamo. So it was like the whole story came full circle. Like he introduced me to the movies, and then I was introducing him to this new way. So he came because our little hometown movie theater couldn't get 3 billboards in Ebbing, Missouri. And so he really wanted to see it. So he and my stepmom came, and we took them to the movie and ordered stuff for him, you know, and just gave him the full experience, took him into the back lot. And plus the movie was just really good. I love Sam Rockwell so much. And since I think The Green Mile was the first time I saw Sam Rockwell in anything, and I thought, he's awful, but he's so good too. He's so good at being awful. And so yeah, there was just something about, you know, it was really emotional because I felt like, you know, he did this, he instilled this love in me, and even though I vowed at one point I would never work in a movie theater again, I couldn't not. You know, when the job came up, I was like, I'm going to apply for this job everywhere I can. I applied in like 3 different locations and called them and emailed them. And so just to see, you know, that in his eyes, like how I felt like he was really proud. And then we got to see this great movie together. And so it was a pretty special night.
So, Mildred Hayes, why did you put up these billboards?
My daughter Angela was murdered 7 months ago. It seems to me the police department is too busy torturing black folks to solve actual crime.
The hell is this?
Dixon, I'm in the middle of my goddamn Easter dinner. Sorry, kids.
I know, Chief, but I think we got kind of a problem.
Sunshine beating on a good time. I'd do anything to catch your daughter's killer. I don't think those billboards is very fair.
The time it took you to get out here whining like a bitch, Willoughby. Some other poor girl's probably out there being butchered right now.
That's awesome. And it has Missouri in it, even though Ebbing doesn't exist. But
yeah.
Full circle there.
Full circle.
Ah, that's great. And he liked the movie, I'm guessing,
too? He loved it.
Yeah,
he loved it. He loved the French fries, the milkshakes. And he's been back a bunch of times since, but that was the first time. And so it was kind of a first for me, and it was definitely a first for him. So it meant a lot.
That's so great. It's like when you show your parents a movie you want them to see, you know, and you're like worried if they're going to see it or not. But when they love it, it's like, oh, I've made it, you know?
I know. I'm like, I did it, Dad. You know, like I went to college, but ultimately it was me having the movie theater experience that got me the job. And it was all because of him. And I owe him a lot.
That's great. That's really great, honestly. It's so fitting. I remember when I saw 3 billboards, I saw it by myself at the Alamo. It was an early morning showing. I was so like shook. I was like, this is something special here.
Yeah.
You know? I was very enthralled with the movie and the ending. the one shot with Sam Rockwell up into the post the office of the billboards. Oh my gosh, talk about like a special moment, like cinema. Like that's, I think, like a scene that'll be captured forever.
Yes.
And you brought up Sam Rockwell, which is part of my childhood too, because I watched Galaxy Quest a lot, and he was.
Oh
in that.
yeah. I always forget that. I don't know why.
I think a lot of people do. I did too, until like I went back and I was like kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm like pointing at him. I'm like, there's Sam Rockwell.
Exactly.
But no, Jen, that's really great. That's like, if anybody's listening, I dare you to like challenge Jen for her experiences, because like I think that's maybe the best I've heard. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like that's like, these are like some all-timer things here.
Well, I've had more years too. That's really helped.
Yeah, I get so jealous of people who are a little older than me who've seen these movies that I love, that I obviously could never see when they first came out, and when they share their experience of seeing them for the first time, I'm always jealous. I'm like, oh, I wish I could have been there for it,
But there will be people younger than you that will feel the same way about you.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, but just, being such a old soul with movies, seeing some of those older pictures in theaters, there's something special about them. One of the movies I almost included was Sunset Boulevard, which is a black and white.
I just saw it for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
No way.
Yeah. I've been working my way through there's this AFI top 100 movies of all time, American movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I printed that out like at the end of last year, and I'm like, all right, 2020, I'm watching all these, and little did I know I would have so much time, and I'm only like at 60 right now because I try to mix them in. Yeah.
That's a quick progression right there. I don't think I'm even at, I don't know if I'm at 6. I'll have to message you and see where I'm at in there.
Okay.
But Sunset Boulevard, I saw it. If anything, it's an honorable mention, but because it's black and white, I saw it in Colombia, and seeing it for the first time. Obviously, Billy Wilder is a fantastic director. But when she quotes saying, "I am big, it's the theaters that were small."
Yeah.
I died and went to movie heaven. I was like, oh my God, that's like the perfect line to anything ever.
Yep.
That's so crazy you saw that recently.
Yeah. It was really, really good.
Yeah. Well, I should have included it, but I will say my last movie theater experience, it was in Chicago. I'm from Rockford, Illinois, which is just outside of Chicago.
Yeah,
it's about an hour. And my aunt lives there in Chicago, and my college roommates, Daniel, and then Seth, my roommate, and our friend Nick as well, who's our roommate, they all came up to visit me the summer after we left college for the first year, and they came to visit me for a weekend, and we went to the patio theater there because there was a all-day horror movie marathon. And the patio theater is pretty old and run down, so the perfect setup for horror movies, right? But the big reason we went was because they had 2 special guests come. One of them was Linnea Quigley, who was the star of Sorority Babes at the Slimeball Bowl-rama and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers.
I need to see both of those.
And she's also in Return of the Living Dead, which is a Dan O'Bannon film, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
He wrote Alien, which is like my all-time favorite movie. So like that was like a match made. But the biggest thing was like my celebrity, it's funny I say crush, but growing up, my favorite horror movie was Nightmare on Elm Street. Obviously,
oh God!
Right?
Oh man, we need to have like a whole separate conversation.
Well, here's the best part, Jen. So Nightmare on Elm Street was like my favorite movie as a kid growing up, but we bought like the movie packs that had all the sequels in them and everything. And the one I watched even more than the original was the Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. And the star of that was Mark Patton.
Yeah.
And he was at the patio theater. And I brought my Blu-ray copy. I got my picture taken with him. He signed my Blu-ray. We talked for a bit. Super sweet guy. I was literally shaking. I was like, I grew up watching you. I loved your movie, like Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's like my favorite. And he was like, oh, it's so great to hear. He took a picture with me and my roommate, which I still have. And, he even messaged me before the event happened on the Facebook page. I was like, commenting, like, I'm so excited to see this guy. And he commented, like, I can't wait to see you. And he's super sweet guy. And then look at him now. He has a documentary out about his experience.
Is that Scream? Is it Scream Queen?
Scream Queen. That's right.
Yep.
I haven't seen it yet. but I've been really wanting to get it, and I know I'll love it when I do. My first episode on this podcast was about the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 movie. So that's like my all-time favorite because it's like a match made in heaven for me about so many things I love, and ultimately getting the one thing I've always thought I'd never get was to meet Mark Patton, which sounds weird to say. That's my all-time like one to see. Like it was a big thing.
He was. So I went to. I don't want to get too far off topic. Sorry, but I went to Fantastic Fest in Austin last year, and it was my first film festival, and he was there. But like I only got to go to the second half, and he was there for the first half, and like we got there that night, and he had just left earlier that night. Oh. But it debuted there, and I really wanted to see it so bad, and then I really wanted to bring it in October for our like Drafthouse of Horrors month, but it was too soon after the festival, so I'm like, I'm definitely going to show it. Because Nightmare on Elm Street, we weren't allowed to watch scary movies when I was a kid, and it came out when I was like 9, I think, the original.
Yeah, 84, yeah.
And my aunt was a senior, and so she got to see it, and then she came to her house and was talking about it, how scary it was, and how it just kept her up, and she didn't want to go to sleep, and I was so jealous. I was so jealous that I was like, God. And then when I did get to see it, of course, it wasn't on the big screen, and I was really sad, but it was still terrifying. Like, it's really hard for me to see a scary movie that really scares me, and that's one of the only exceptions. That and Carrie. The movie Carrie was,
Yeah, we could just do a whole episode on those two movies.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I just like, I mean, so everyone thinks Nightmare on Elm Street, but like to me, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 like has a special place. Like I even have a poster in my room of him saying the man of your dreams is back, and I'm like, oh, that's that's a play on obviously the homoerotic themes of that movie, which I absolutely love. I think it's great.
Me too.
But yeah, that's like my all-time favorite. It was just a perfect storm of things.
Yeah, I want to rewatch both of those.
Yeah.
And there's so many. I have so many lists everywhere in my house. Like, I gotta watch this. I gotta, like anywhere when I think of it, I scribble it down, and it's a mess.
Right. No, I totally agree. Like, I think I wake up and I'm like, what am I in the mood for to check off my list, and then I'll just follow up and do that. But I totally share your struggles with that. But it sounds like you're doing better than me from what you've been seeing lately and your progression. I know you also have your podcast where you kind of the life of Jen is like your daily updates.
My Freelance by Jen. Yeah.
That's that. I've watched it a few times. It's really, really fun. So I'll make sure to plug that for you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try to. It's really. I just want to create stuff, and so I keep telling myself, mostly people don't want to hear about, thoughts, but I think people always want to talk about movies. Like even if you don't consider yourself a fan of movies, there's a movie that meant something to you, and it's tied, to your emotions in some way. And if not, then you're not human. You're some kind of cyborg or whatever, and that's the fastest way to identify you. So you might want to go ahead and start pretending if you don't really feel that way.
There you go. Well said. For those who have just like tuned in, my guest is Jennifer Johnmeyer. She is the host of the Alamo Draft Club in Springfield, Missouri. She's fantastic. Jen, thank you so much for being on here. This has been a lot of fun. You gave me a lot of movies I need to check out.
Yeah, I'll send you lists.
Get the more lists, right?
Yeah, why not?
So whoever's listening, I hope you are encouraged when everything that's crazy going on ceases. Come to Springfield, Missouri. Go to the Alamo there. Say hi to Jen. Just seriously, it's really great. I hate to be like on my hands and knees and say like I love the Alamo, but like it really is a really great place, and it really, to me, being like a movie fan, being able to talk to random people about movies and it's not weird is like a really great thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? Like having you on here was just a thrill. I love talking to you and like, picking your brain about movies. It's just great.
Yes. I was honored to be asked, and I really enjoyed talking to you as well. Seriously, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Hopefully we can collab and do another thing. I'm sure more people are going to want to hear more of your thoughts and your experiences, because I know you probably have a lot of really great stuff. But thank you all for listening. Like I said, my name is Cris here with Jen from the Alamo, and thank you all for listening to the Hertastic podcast. Hope to see your thoughts and your opinions down below in the comments. Give us a shout out on our email. That's at hertastic.reviews@gmail.com. I will post some links down below for Jen's Freelance Jen web series. It's really great. It's a lot of fun, actually. So make sure you check that out. But thank you all for listening. And remember, if you're not watching movies, what do you do with your life, really?
Yeah.
You gotta check them out.
Yeah, please tell us how you're filling your days.
Yes, please, if you could, down below. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.